Whoa, it's snowing quite heavily. It seems we'll be able to ski on fresh snow again tomorrow.
It'll be a real pain if the snow blows too heavily and the ski lifts become inoperable, though.
My feet hurt.
Mine too.
As expected, the set of equipment we rented didn't fit us well, as I would have hoped. Particularly, the ski boots were extremely tight, and they were quite agonizing to have on since noon. I should have known that skiing for the first time after turning 20 would be too much, huh?
Come on, don't say that. You guys learned how to do a wedge turn, right?
That's right. Now the two of you don't have to feel embarrassed whenever you go out skiing anymore.
I'm saying that you shouldn't have taken someone up to the summit on their first day. Of all the decisions I could have imagined you to make, that was the worst.
Seriously, I can't even count how many times I fell over.
And I imagine you couldn't count how many guys offered to pick you up, too. You couldn't catch up with her the whole time, you know that, Haruki?
Setsuna goes too fast. Haruki stops too often. Well, the brakes weren't working well.
I prioritize safety foremost.
I'm glad I didn't ask you to drive. I'm sure we wouldn't even be here by now if I had.
We've arrived in a small boarding house near the slope of a ski resort in Shinshu. Takeya illustrated just how much of an amateur he was at driving with the way he kept skidding on the pavement, which had become a stark white as we were nearing our venue. With the way we ended up reaching our venue without accident, the memory of a certain someone inevitably popped into my mind. Though, I wonder why I'm remembering something like that right now. You must be tired, right, Setsuna?
But still, the hot springs felt so good. They weren't quite like the open air ones, but they had a nice atmosphere to them, like those natural ones surrounded by rocks. Are you fine with anything as long as there are hot springs? And so, after we arrived at our destination, we had to put on equipment that we were not familiar with whatsoever, before exposing ourselves to the freezing, bitter cold of the snowy mountain. Didn't you enjoy the bath, Haruki-kun? You spent a lot of time in there too, didn't you?
It was the beer Takeya brought. It tasted great at first, but I think I had too much to drink, so I'm kind of exhausted. And the rest of the day went by at a dizzyingly fast pace.
Man, that sure was something, huh? I was wondering just how blissful it'd be to pass out there.
Me too! I was feeling so warm from within, and the fact I didn't get enough sleep actually made me doze off in the bathtub.
Having tumbled down the snowscape, we dragged our roughed-up bodies back to our lodging.
I'm not sure how long her face was underwater, but even after I slowly counted to 100, she still wasn't coming back up. That was terrible, Io! How could you just leave me be like that? I nearly drowned back there.
We entered the hot springs, shared a meal, and packed up some souvenirs, and ended up buying a lot of booze and bringing it back to our rooms while we were at it. Wait, wouldn't you be able to realize that you're drowning before she could even count to 100? How did you even manage to breathe, Setsuna?
Not you too, Haruki-kun.
I can't say this wasn't quite enjoyable. I laugh, and Setsuna sends a slight smile back at me. We're no longer forcing ourselves when we're around each other. Just like when we were at Setsuna's birthday party before that. No, I'd say it's even less forced for us to be together right now. Setsuna's not acting more cheerful than she should be, but the way she's smiling and engaging in chatter with us now is just right. And she's doing this among people where she needs no reservations, as if they were family. People who are closer to her in age than they are.
What, seriously? You want to go into teaching practice too?
Well, I'm already in the department where I can get a teacher's license. It's better to expand your range of options.
I see you still have that rigid way of thinking, huh, Haruki?
Whoa! It's Kirahara-sensei!
Sorry, I don't really like being addressed that way. We had no sleep last night, but we're currently losing track of time as we engage in conversation.
I attend seminars every now and then, but maybe I think it doesn't really help me, or I guess I just think I should still be working. You say that, but isn't attending lectures praiseworthy in itself? Like, I haven't even bought a suit for the job interviews yet.
Same here! I've gotta get one during spring break, or else...
By the way, didn't you want to make a career in mass media or something, Haruki? Have you already decided on it as your first choice?
I've yet to make a decision. I've been thinking quite a lot about it, though.
Well, you're you, after all. So you'll just open yourself to a lot of options, think it through carefully multiple times, and finally make your choice. One way or another, I imagine you'll be the first among us to get an offer.
But you're probably better at interviews and such. You seem like you could do whatever you want as long as it sales.
Up until the point where he has to help a client, that is.
That's so mean, Io!
I'd appreciate it if you also realized how mean you're being by laughing so much at it, Setsuna-chan.
Our careers, our futures, we're dealing with the anticipation and unease of going out into society. We're able to relate to the same feeling because we're all from the same generation.
Oh, I see! Hayasaka-kun went to a university in Kyoto!
Before this, when I called him, he started babbling on in Kansai dialect.
Chikashi can speak in Kansai dialect? Does he say things like howdy? Wow, I'd ask him who he was if he ever said that to me.
To tell the truth, I didn't know who it was for a bit even after he told me his name.
If I remember correctly, Hayasaka was dating Nagisa from our class, wasn't he? Yeah, that's right. They were in the same class in second year after all.
By Nagisa, do you mean Kato-san? Jeez, I never noticed!
I'm also just found out.
Kato-san and I weren't even in the same class. We were furthest apart on attendance numbers.
Well, Setsuna-chan, you've been ill-informed on this stuff for a long time. So I guess you could say it's not your fault. But Nagisa got into a vocational school here, right? I wonder if she broke up with Hayasaka? At that time, did he say anything?
Do you think I'd ask such audacious questions?
Well, I guess not. Expecting Haruki to ask questions about that is pointless, huh? So why don't we just check on him right now ourselves then?
Hey, It's late at night already. Wouldn't we be disturbing him?
Nagisa-chan, long time no see. How you been? Now then, a question. Who on earth could I be?
Wait, you're calling her?
Why do you know her number? She's a girl from way back then and from a different class, you know?
And we're not just from the same grade. We talk excitedly about our relatives in a way no other group can imitate. For the four of us have spent the past 6 years living in the same place. We're immersing ourselves in a profound world that's exclusive in a way, free from intrusion as we talk about things that only we understand or have promised. We help ourselves to drinks and grow delirious. It was as if we went back in time 3 years, to a time where it was nothing but fun. We spent the night exhausting all the words we had. Thank you very much for using our service. I'm Sahashi from Onjuku Transportation.
Take me to Narita.
The airport.
Yes, to a hotel that's next to it.
Ah, so you plan on flying tomorrow?
Well, something like that.
Is that so? I do hope that your flight will be on time.
What do you mean?
It seems there's going to be some heavy snowfall in the city center tonight.
Snow?
I've heard it's already falling in the west. Services may be suspended tomorrow.
I see.
Though I do wish I didn't have to deal with the snow. While there are more customers, driving is going to be tough. In any case though, I'll still take you to Narita, no matter what happens.
So, I might not be able to fly tomorrow.
They're late, huh?
Yeah.
I swear, how much shopping did they go out to do?
I wonder if there are even any shops that are open at this hour.
Right? It's not like there are any 24-hour convenience stores like the ones we have in Tokyo.
And the stores below us have closed long ago.
Seriously, what are they doing?
Maybe they were so focused on looking for shops that they got lost?
Even so, don't you think they're old enough to at least contact us about that?
Maybe they can't reach us?
While I understand that they're drunk, it's been over 30 minutes since they went out to do some shopping. As we ended up face to face, we occasionally took sips from our glasses, reminiscing about the past, and spent our time in an unusual silence that would have been impossible before. I'll give them a call.
You think you'll be able to reach them?
Nevertheless, the fact we're alone together is starting to feel quite difficult. It's not difficult because we can't get into conversation. It's difficult exactly because we're capable of having one. If the two of us continue off from when there were the four of us, enjoying ourselves and happily pass the time alone with each other, if we take advantage of our ideal circumstances and forget about everything that happened up until now, enjoying ourselves until the next morning just like we used to, my betrayal and my sincerity would both be left unresolved.
Yo, that didn't take you long.
Where are you right now? You're not going to tell me you got into an accident or something, are you?
No, we're somewhere that's completely safe.
A convenience store? Just how far did you...
We went back to our room. It's room 202.
Huh? Room 202 is anything but far from here. It's literally on the other side of the hallway.
Io is also here, right now, next to me.
Excuse me? It's one of the 2 rooms that the 4 of us rented. It was supposed to be the room where the girls were going to stay the night.
I'm sorry, but could I ask you and Setsuna-chan to just use that room for the night?
And now, according to Takeya's plan, that room would become his and Io's. Hang on.
What's going on? Are Takeya-kun and Io okay?
Do you even understand what you're saying right now? Setsuna's voice had completely fallen on deaf ears.
I'm begging you, Haruki. Let me become a man.
After all, everything Takeya is telling me right now is utterly absurd, but also strangely vivid all the same.
I've already become a man long ago. Anyway, let me get what I've always wished for.
I told you, hang on. Just wait a minute, Takeya.
I'm going to hang up in a second. Also, I've locked our room, so please don't knock repeatedly or anything like that.
Takeya!
Hey, what happened? Did something happen to the 2 of them?
I'm not sure if we should be wondering what's happening to them or if something will be happening to them. Or perhaps this is something they've set up.
Well, what should we do?
What should we do? Well, having learned of the conversation I just had with Takeya in full, she was naturally at a loss for words.
Io and Takeya-kun! Could it be they finally... Could it be that they...
However, when she asked, what should we do?
You see, Io's noticed for quite some time now. Actually, no. I suppose it would be odd if she hadn't noticed something was up.
Her words were filled with an unbelievable kindness, one that's well-deserved for the 2 of them.
But they've come this far as good friends, so maybe they just couldn't keep it to themselves anymore.
You may be right. I'm sure that Setsuna also believes that there's a 99% chance that this is the result of their scheming, much like I do. Even so, unlike me, I imagine she's holding out hope for the remaining 1% possibility that it isn't.
I hope things will go well between the 2 of them.
I suppose. Seriously, she's so kind.
Now then, what happens next is up to the 2 of them.
Leaving that aside, would you care to explain why my hands and feet are tied? Are you into this sort of thing?
If you'd prefer some neglect pay, perhaps we could try that instead.
Don't you trust me?
I'd be very interested to hear how exactly your conduct up until now gives me any reason to describe you with the word trustworthy.
If you're not going to let me do anything, then I'm hitting the sack. And just so you know, I'm not going to do anything if you happen to change your mind and end up crawling into my bed later on.
Hey, Takeya, do you really think what we did was a good idea?
Beats me. So much has happened throughout their relationship that it's become so messed up. So I honestly can't even imagine what's going to happen.
This whole plan was your idea, wasn't it? Don't say something so irresponsible.
Still, I know one thing, and it's that they can't stay the way they are right now. Sure, the reason why they are the way they are right now is because of Haruki. He's half-heartedly distancing himself from Setsuna-chan, while at the same time half-heartedly trying to reach out to her.
And all the while he knows
how much pain he's causing Setsuna by doing that?
But Setsuna-chan's not making things easy either. Even though she refused Haruki, she just won't accept Haruki distancing himself from her either.
Well, if only Haruki could have stayed loyal to Setsuna 3 years ago, then...
No one made Setsuna-chan leave Haruki back then. She did it of her own violation. The thing is, she was supposed to have already forgiven Haruki back then.
It's not that easy of a thing to get over, though. No matter what she does, she'll always remember.
But that's just the way Setsuna-chan is, which is why she's been putting Haruki in such a bind. And now they've gotten someone apart from us involved in all this as well.
What do you mean when you say someone apart from us?
It's like there's an unsynchronized tug-of-war going on between them. One end gets no reaction when tugging on their side, but the moment they ease up, they get dragged along.
Who?
All there's left is to wait for tomorrow. That's when they'll decide if they want to move forward or put an end to it.
What if nothing happens by morning?
That in itself can be considered a step forward, if only because it means they can stay beside one another without feeling hurt.
For me, I just want to see them go back to how they used to be. I want to see Setsuna laugh once more from the bottom of her heart.
I want that too. Come on, let's go to sleep. I hope that the 4 of us can spend some time having fun tomorrow.
Yeah? Night, Takeya.
Night, yeah.
By the way, what did you mean by what you've always wished for?
Go look it up in a dictionary.
What is it?
What do you mean, what is it?
You've been looking at me for quite some time now.
Well, you're the only one here, Setsuna, so...
Sorry. Now that I think of it, it's only natural, huh?
No, I wouldn't say it's something natural.
I'm being overly self-conscious, huh? How embarrassing.
No, don't worry about it. It was my bad for staring at you for so long.
I never said it was bad, you know.
Sorry. Sorry.
What's going on? We're so weird, aren't we?
Like, we're middle schoolers. We're really acting like idiots. The 2 of us are being ridiculously conscious about one another, paying incredible attention to each other's gazes, mannerisms, and breathing. We're all alone in a place meant just for us, where no one should be able to interrupt in any way. Because a certain duo just happened to be far too considerate of us. After all, it's not like we have a choice. We both end up staring at each other for some reason.
It seems things have turned out in quite an unexpected way.
Yeah.
Someone barged into my house uninvited all of a sudden.
And I got put in a car and was forced along for the ride.
And before we knew it, we were thrown out into the snowy mountains,
Tumbling and falling over from the summit.
getting bruises all over our bodies,
Returning to the lodge.
entering the hot springs,
Drinking.
making a racket,
getting set up.
And before we knew it, you became a third wheel.
It was fun. Yeah, it was fun. And before we knew it, we were able to consciously and properly look at each other without it simply being a coincidence.
Lately, so many fun things have been happening. It's actually concerning. Like the birthday party. And now today.
That's nothing to be concerned about, right? It's never bad to have fun.
I'd be glad if that were the case. It'd be fine even without a rebound.
At that moment, sure, I was at a loss for words, but I didn't avert my eyes from her. And at that moment, a deep sigh escaped Setsuna's lips, as if she peered into my eyes with her upturned gaze.
Hey, given the circumstances, what do you say to the two of us keep talking the whole night? It seems like I can't go back to my room after all.
By keep talking, do you mean until the morning? The real meaning behind her behavior, and the depth of it, for me, it's probably something that can't be fully understood.
That was the general intention, yes. Though I suppose we could talk until one of us gets tired and falls asleep.
If you say that, it's obvious that you're going to be the one who falls asleep first, right, Setsuna?
I'll try my best. I can stay awake until 4. No, at least 3 a.m., so...
The only thing that I think I clearly understood was that I was relieved by something. I don't really mind. No matter what time we fall asleep, I'll wake up at 6 o'clock anyway.
Using an alarm clock as usual, huh, Haruki-kun? I guess I've always been the one who woke up tired after our usual late-night calls.
Setsuna is probably thinking that she can get away with it today, too. So then, what will we be talking about?
Right, so, Haruki-kun, how's your job hunt going?
Didn't we talk about that earlier? I'm making sure I'm currently the same person who attended Setsuna's birthday party just a few days ago. I'm making sure that I'm the same person I was back then. The person who didn't hurt Setsuna when she was happy. Who didn't neglect Setsuna when she was suffering. And who could only hold her hand without saying anything. Then, let me listen to what you have to say this time, Setsuna. But what exactly is wrong with me saying that?
About my course for the future?
No, rather than that, about last year, or anything.
About last year?
Am I aware that I'm currently in the middle of a trip? How long has it been since I last went out and had fun with Setsuna like this? We haven't been in the same department since April, after all. Both Takeya and Io were driven to desperation and went out of their way to do something for us. Well, the number of courses we're taking haven't gone down at all, so the amount of time we've had to see each other has also lessened quite a lot, huh? It's been really fun. I'm sure tomorrow will be fun as well.
Yeah, that's right. I wasn't able to see you.
That's why it's alright for us to do this today, right? I don't actually know a whole lot about Setsuna, the third-year university student. Could you tell me what kind of person she is? Anything is fine. After all, Setsuna is, without a doubt, a very important girl to me. Well, I was the one who put the distance between us in the first place. So this might sound convenient coming from me.
No, that's not it. It's really not.
Setsuna. And I'm just not a guy who can keep on longing and waiting for the return of a girl who's already left me and went to some faraway place.
Right, for starters then, let's talk about the mixer that was organized by one of the guys from the medical department.
At least spare me that. Now that I think of it, I already know all about that.
That's true.
To attempt a long-distance relationship would be impossible. I know this from experience. You really didn't try a long-distance relationship. She left, you gave up. You didn't even talk to her once while she was in Vienna. The love I had with her was one that was destined to end from the very beginning. That's why the decision I should be making, it should be obvious, right?
I'm in Japan right now, only for today. The preparations for my move are all done. All that's left is to get on my flight at 1 p.m. Truth is, I got back the day before yesterday, and to be honest, I did plan on contacting you again. Goodbye, Kirahara. I'm going, no matter what anyone says now. It's already been decided. I'm not a woman who can sacrifice her job for a man. But, well, if somehow you appear in front of me at the airport before my departure and throw a tantrum because you hate the thought of being separated from me, if you go that far, I guess I just won't have a choice. It's not like I haven't thought about what would happen after this. Yes, Tokyo and New York are far apart, but I think I could come back for a day or so every month. So, West Virginia Airlines Flight 302 is scheduled to depart Narita at 1 p.m. Kitahara, you're not the kind of person to not follow each and every one of my instructions, right? At least, I don't remember training you that way. The deadline is in half a day. Come and catch me.
West Virginia Airlines Flight 302 is scheduled to depart Narita at 1 p.m. The contents of Mari-san's text were blunt, as usual. And yet, I felt like I understood exactly what she was thinking, and what she's currently looking for. Looking at my watch, I see that midnight is long past. Today is already March.
You see, next month, she'll be coming back to the country temporarily. She'll be making her final preparations for her transfer with her return. And I think we won't be able to see her for quite a while the next time she heads back to the U.S.
Sawako-san. It's true that she said sometime in March, but who would have known it would have been scheduled in such a way? She's only given me 12 hours, and to make matters worse, I'm currently in the mountains in Shinshu, which is almost half a day's drive from Tokyo. My surroundings are covered in fresh white snow, but it's so dark right now that you can't even notice how white it is. And the last train of the local line left a long time ago. Success hinges upon being able to get to the first train tomorrow. And even then, my prospects of making it in time are looking slim. Sorry, I just got a text. But, Mari-san, it's already too late. It's too late to be giving me a push on the back at this point. It's too late for you to be giving me a chance now. We were still in the middle of our conversation, right? Let's continue then.
Enough. That's enough.
After all, She's 5 years older than me. She's my superior at my part-time job.
I said that's enough. You don't have to tell me.
I've already told Setsuna all about you. Because I've decided to move forward. I've cut off my own escape route. After Setsuna finished talking about how she had spent the past year, it was my turn to talk about how I'd spent it. It all began in spring. At the time, I was gradually fitting in with my new colleagues as a new member of the literature department. A certain woman suddenly walked up to me and addressed me in an overly familiar manner, and I ended up spending an excessive amount of money under the pretext of my welcoming party. She ended up asking me for a lot more favors following that incident, and that might have been why I was eventually seen as someone reliable. This unexpectedly closed the distance between me and my peers. Next was summer. With my sights set on my future, I spent my summer break considering my prospects for employment. I took the plunge and applied for a position at Kyosha, where I ended up being so busy with work that it was dizzying. It felt like I'd spent 24 hours a day working without thinking about anything else on a regular basis. It was there that I cultivated a connection with someone, my talented superior, who, despite being ridiculously harsh, was capable of bouts of kindness. Autumn followed. It was during this season, when all things wither away and my lab seminars officially started, that I was finally able to give everything some proper thought. Following the end of school festival, that song of ours started going on air on the university's own FM broadcast. It was then that I crossed paths with Setsuna once more, but he missed the mark yet again. And it was then that I'd met a certain young girl who happened to be my junior both at school and at work, who simply couldn't tolerate how indecisive I'd been and all the mistakes I'd made. And then came winter. The season of reminiscence, during which memories of a certain someone inevitably surface in my mind, no matter how many years passed. I had been unable to reconnect with her, but I got back on my feet and did my best to get close to her, and it all led to that Christmas evening, our final, most destructive breakup yet. However, while that might have been the end of that day for Setsuna, the truth was that it still hadn't reached its end for me. And the very moment I told her about what followed, Setsuna finally lowered her gaze after looking at me this entire time, refusing to face the confession of my sin. The way she was strict, uncompromising, and full of confidence reminded me of Toma. Even though I can no longer see Setsuna's expression, she's gasping in pain, and I know exactly what sort of emotions are behind those gasps. But memories alone aren't enough to fall in love with someone. It's not as if I could bring myself to have feelings for someone if they were just an escape for me, but I continue talking nonetheless. I was genuinely in love with her. I can't count the amount of deplorable things I've done to her. even though I've betrayed her, even though I've deeply wounded her, even though she's about to head overseas now. She scolded me, encouraged me, pouted in front of me, acted spoiled around me, teased me, and embraced me despite everything. But I loved her. I truly believed I did. I loved that adorable older woman who's ridiculously kind, yet also capable of bouts of harshness. Setsuna's shoulders are shaking. In the end, I decided to be together with her, and betrayed you once again, Setsuna. I can't count how many times I've managed to hurt you. Before I realized it, her breaths had turned into sobs, shaking the silent space meant for only the two of us. And I know you won't be able to forgive me. I'm sorry. Even if I apologize. No, to apologize to her in itself is unforgivable. It was supposed to be a clear-cut conclusion done 3 years ago. And yet, I've only continued to hurt Setsuna throughout these 3 years. And to make things worse, I'm trying to end things in the worst way possible right now.
What? Why are you telling me all this right now?
Setsuna's sobs are tinged with a resentful tone.
Didn't you say you were having fun, Haruki? Weren't you laughing the whole time with all of us? Weren't you laughing with me?
I did have fun. I was happy, truly.
Then why?
But I've always just been waiting for this opportunity. I just had to tell you about this very important subject. It's precisely because we're having fun right now. It's exactly because we're sharing a nice atmosphere between us. And it's because telling her this right now would hurt Setsuna all the more. After all, haven't I been simply using excuses that are convenient for me, such that I'd only been delaying the conclusion at every turn? That is what resulted in our half-baked situation right now, where neither of us know where or how to advance. I know I've betrayed you with what I've done, but I'd be betraying you even more harshly if I were to hide the truth. Regardless of whether we'd be happy or hurt, what I really need right now is time meant for the two of us to talk things through like this, is it not? That's why I'm coming clean with you now. I'm sorry, Setsuna.
But, like I said, why are you apologizing?
I thought that we could just drop the subject if you said it had nothing to do with you. I thought we could laugh it off if it was just a terrible misunderstanding on my part. However, I just had to tell you all this.
I didn't say that it had nothing to do with me. I just said that you didn't have to apologize for it.
Setsuna?
Because all of this is my fault.
She adamantly refuses to admit it's my fault.
I distanced myself away from you while not wanting our relationship to be destroyed. Part of this is my fault, isn't it?
Setsuna, who broke down on that Christmas evening.
Because I unusually delayed things. I ended up hurting you, Haruki-kun, and that's why you were separated from her as well, isn't it?
Is now realizing to that state where she endured with all her might, hurting herself to forgive me before consequently breaking down. It's not like that. It's not your fault, Setsuna.
Then there's only one thing I can think of right now. The fact that I should console you.
No matter how many mistakes I've made, she's forgiven me at every turn. And even though it must be unbearable to her, I keep on repeating the same mistakes.
Back then, I was crying so much that you didn't even get the chance to cry yourself, did you, Haruki-kun?
It's like a microcosm of the vicious cycle we've been repeating for 3 years.
So, right here and right now, you can cry your heart out. You can embrace me. You can use me as a substitute for her. I was only a replacement to you, wasn't I?
Culminating in the worst and most despicable decision Setsuna ever made. The snowfall outside the window is getting heavier. The snow and the wind blow against the building unrelentingly, bringing the slightest noise to the otherwise quiet room. Though our hearts are likely shaking more wildly and fiercely than the blizzard that's blowing outside.
I don't have the courage to connect my heart with yours right away, with the way you are now, Haruki-kun.
Setsuna places her hands on mine on the table.
But even so, if I could be a refuge for you, Haruki-kun, if we first could become one in body, then...
Stop it. I managed to reject her with words, but I failed to shake her hands off mine.
If it's impossible for the both of us to face each other directly, rather than mutually hurt each other, why don't we just not care about it and just accept...
Stop! That's why Setsuna only puts more force into her hands, unconcerned by the fact that I'm raising my voice.
Why? Aren't you in agony, Haruki-kun? Aren't you sad?
This is the very definition of a compromise that's placing the cart before the horse. Having been unable to connect my heart with Setsuna's, or to be physically intimate with her, I made the mistake of seeking out a substitute for her. And even though that was exactly what brought about such a sorrowful development, at least in her eyes, right there and right now, Setsuna herself is offering to become a replacement for her. Don't do this, Setsuna. Please, just stop this.
After separating with her, you want to feel warm, don't you?
Please stop. If you say any more.
If only with my body, I can warm you up, you know? That's why, Haruki-kun.
I...
Won't you hold me tight?
I haven't given up on her yet. I never wanted to hurt Setsuna, but it seems that it's inevitable that I'll hurt her now. That's why I had only hoped to cause as little damage as possible. But Setsuna is violently resisting my attempts to do that. In the end, Setsuna's wounds only continue to rapidly fester before my very eyes, beyond my control. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Well, at least Haruki and Setsuna have finally had that conversation about breaking up and moving on. Haruki is now all in on Mari. Will he'd be able to make it back to Tokyo in time? It does feel like Mari's self-sabotaging the relationship. Is she just making this tough and hoping Haruki pulls through, proving his love? Or does she just want to break things off?